Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Michael Mann's Heat in 1995. We're here with a review of Heat. And here's the Blu-ray. Got this film here, of course. Rewatch. I've seen this many times, and thought I'd review it as I rewatched it tonight. I'd seen it last time I saw it was 2 years ago, this is a very popular film. Of course, very big as well for the fact that De Niro and Pacino, two kind of actors that were maybe kind of very big same sort of times, of course, the 70s onwards and stuff. And until this film, they never actually shared a scene together, on screen. Of course, they were both in The Godfather Part 2, but this is the first film where they actually shared a scene together. Of course, they play two different opposite kind of ends, the spectrum of these characters. This film, of course, it's a heist film. It's basically a crime drama. Of course, it has got many action scenes in the film. But yeah, mainly crime drama. This film, of course, the lives of these two characters, intertwine and stuff. Of course, Al Pacino plays Lieutenant Vincent, and of course, De Niro plays Neil, who's basically this master criminal who, yes, leads these criminals. Some played by Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore, who's a very underrated actor, and stuff. And yes. This film, it's a big epic film as well, around about 3 hours. And of course, yes, it's very popular, this. Many people have seen it. It is in the top 250 on IMDb, and just many people love this film. Cited it was one of the best of all time. Not just for the fact that De Niro and Pacino kind of thing, which is a big event. It means so much in itself. But this film just in every area really, people praise this. And is it one of the best films ever made? For me, it absolutely is. This is just one of the best. It's absolutely masterful. Some people don't like it, which is fine. But for me, I agree. It's definitely one of the best films ever made in the history of cinema. And just wow, every element in this film is just it's the highest order, really. It's just in terms of these characters. They are brutal characters, of course. It's a harsh world that Michael Mann portrays. He does this through many different aspects of filmmaking. The actors, of course, as well, especially Val Kilmer, very brutal in this film. But what he does is he brings a humanity to it all, and just very flawed humans. Most of these characters, they're not just criminals one-sided. You do see their home lives and stuff, and some of their families. De Niro's character of Neil is the only one who's kind of odd one out there. He's kind of he's not got anyone. He's quite a lonely character and stuff. He does, of course, find a romance, with this character, that he meets quite early on, basically, from then on, he's trying to plan out, his last, his final heist, of course, and he answers to, kind of another character, played by Voight, but yes, he's planning out his last heist, with these members, and stuff, and of course, things don't go according to plan, throughout the film, and, throughout most of the film, Pacino's character, is on the case, Vincent, and of course, these two characters, it's kind of like a cat and mouse thriller, and it's just wow, on the edge of your seat for the whole film. It is an epic film, drama and stuff, but wow, this film has a wonderful flow. It's just constantly every scene, in my opinion, it's just perfect. And just it's a masterclass in filmmaking. It's just in acting, and how Michael Mann, of course, it's written and directed by Michael Mann and kind of co-produced. It's genius stuff. But yes, the way he creates, this world, the mood of the picture, it's just so consistent. And he does this through many different things, including, of course, the sound design overall is absolutely stunning. Of course, it is very similar. If you've seen, which literally everyone has, The Dark Knight, I think it's definitely very similar in many areas. The way that the sound design comes into play, especially in the action scenes, the big set pieces, and just many moments in the film. The color tones, the color palette, and how it uses. He uses a lot of the time kind of cool blues in the film. The cold colors at times, and the harshness and stuff portrayed through the color tones and everything, and then the warm. At times warm colours as well, contrasting, and stuff, and it's just really wonderful, and very similar, in that sense to Dark Knight, the way it is portrayed there, this whole world through atmosphere, and just brutality, of these criminals, but again, this is very stylish film as well. It's not just it has got many subtleties in the film, but it's very very, it's definitely very kind of theatrical at times as well, and it's just a perfect blend. And this is just, it's such a real film, real emotions, true to life, and as I say, there's no one-sided criminals in this film really. They're all kind of, they're fleshed out, these characters, and it's a big epic film. It's very very unique actually. A lot of thrillers and stuff, and films like this are not usually epics, you could say. This is just something else. This combination, because it's just constantly, kind of just absolutely thrilling from start to finish, and it has a wonderful flow. It's a grand, massive spectacle, this film, and it's a perfect combination. Of course, the performances, Al Pacino, of course, as Vincent. Now it's very very out there, kind of. Just a big theatrical performance, and I just love it. How Pacino commits to this. It's just great quotable lines, a hilarious performance at times, but really really powerful as well. He does kind of bring his own thing to it, and there's moments where it's definitely meant to be more theatrical and comedy in there, but it is in the end especially very very kind of tragic at times, his character, and just it's such a powerful performance. Of course, I've put a spoiler warning in this because we'll be going into some spoilers soon. But yes, contrast that with De Niro's character of Neil, and who is very, very kind of subtle, a lot more subtle in the film, and just they do have similarities. It's kind of a dual character study, but they do of course have many many differences as well, and it's just kind of that contrast, to De Niro's performance, who is. It's just absolutely brilliant in the film. Once again, this of course is contains two actors who are in my top 5 of all time. Actually, I've never really mentioned Al Pacino on my channel. Of course, I mentioned De Niro quite a lot, but Al Pacino is in my top 5 actors of all time. He's just absolutely remarkable for me. His best performances, of course, the first 2 Godfather films, not the third. And of course Scarface for me personally. It's one of the best films ever made. The performance in that is just off the charts. This again, no doubt, an absolutely masterful performance. Of course, De Niro, who is my favourite actor of all time, my number 1. So this film is very, very, kind of special in that kind of right as well to me. Of course, if someone asked me what's the best film, that Al Pacino's in, stuff, I would say The Godfather Part 2. With De Niro, it's either this or The Deer Hunter for me. Very, very close, in quality. But yes, of course. I actually saw this film, when I was around about 8 for the first time actually. So it's actually before a lot of the, Al Pacino and De Niro films actually that I saw. Of course, so I did watch, Scarface and the first Godfather when I was about 10 years old, and stuff. But yes, and I saw Casino as well actually, De Niro of course. Before that, this was one of the very first kind of films I saw them in it. But then, of course, I saw all these other films with the guys in it, and then, of course, rewatching this, it was even better because of that, of course. That little extra special something, in the way that it's all these years, of course, and they're finally kind of on the screen together. So there's that, and of course that kind of the diner scene. It's just stuff of legends. It's one of the best, kind of performed scenes of all time. Just the intensity. The way Michael Mann, keeps it very, very simple in terms of the camera work. It's basically the 2 shots, the reaction shots, of course, and it's very, very claustrophobic and intense, of course, and he just focuses on these two guys, these pure emotions, and there's a real simplicity to it, but it feels like a massive event, of course. It didn't go to waste, of course, and that's really the only scene that they kind of share in the film, apart from actually talking, apart from, maybe, some of the ending, of course. Yes, of course. The ending to this film, as I said, it's a spoiler review, is absolutely stuff of legends. Just the way that it comes to a closure, the tragedy of it all, the way that De Niro, his character of Neil, could have easily have got away, in essence, with his love, but then, of course, he goes back to kind of finish off. Of course, one of the characters in the film, who kind of has a ripple effect for an entire picture. This character, one of the heist members, basically rats on them and messes up the job early on. De Niro, of course, goes back to take revenge, and that's what costs him, of course. And Al Pacino closes in on this character of Neil. In the end, it's just heartbreaking. Actually, really is. And of course, the final shot is perfect. It really is. How they don't look at each other, the characters, but of course they share something there, and it's heartbreaking. It's a tragic film. A lot of these characters, it's a tragedy for all these characters. Despite them being criminals and stuff, and that's the thing. Such a multi-layered, complex film. Just the humanity to it. It's very rare in films like this. And yes, it does. It just brings everything to a closure wonderfully at the end. And of course the score to the film and stuff as well. It's absolutely stunning. It's a mixture between very atmospheric, subtle music, and then of course it gets, really, overwhelming at times. It's actually very emotional. And yes, I think there is quite a few emotional scenes in the film. And just all these characters, the side characters, even the wife of Al Pacino's character, of Vincent, and of course the stepdaughter, played by Natalie Portman in the film, very young role for her. And all these characters. Ted Levine is in the film. You've got a great ensemble here, and it's something else. It's kind of there's scenes of other very small characters in the film, but they don't feel like small characters. Never feels like it's sidetracking, and they all have kind of their roles in the film, and it just portrays the tragedy of all this kind of this lifestyle, and it's a very brutal film, but actually very poetic as well, and of course the action in the film really couldn't have been better. The editing is key here. It's masterfully shot, but the editing, the way it kind of has a wonderful flow and just a real intensity to it, visceral feeling. Just absolutely overwhelming, the action. The heist for me is the greatest heist in cinema, the one in the centre of the film, and it comes of course after the coffee scene, which is just something else. The middle act of this film is just off the charts, quality, and there's always been a weird thing with this film. I have never, since the age of around about 8 when I first saw it, had a truly working physical copy, because actually this Blu-ray is faulty, and it basically stuck at the part just before the coffee scene. So I actually should watch the film for 10 minutes. I had to actually temporarily buy it on Sky. It's really weird, and the DVD I had after the first time, it started not working. It was all scratched. Of course I've seen it other times on Sky, but the actual the only time I've seen it on a physical copy all the way through without it playing up, was many years ago. So it's very interesting. There's always been issues with this film, but I've always had wonderful experiences with the film. It's cold in some of the colour tones and stuff, for effect, for the harshness and to portray that the coldness of the lifestyle. But at its core, this is the essential thing. It's truly warm, actually, for me, and full of heart, and just humanity. And I really cared about all these characters. Just truly cared about them. Such a masterful character study, and just the blend of drama, of action, with romance between multiple different characters, the relationships in the film, of course. Truly powerful stuff, and just the mix between all that and the action, and just how thrilling it is on a big scope, and stuff. It's a perfect film for me, an absolute masterpiece. There's not a single flaw for me in any of this film. This is how to make a great thriller, a great crime drama, and especially a film, an ensemble piece. It's kind of operatic at times, but very. It's really subtle, this film, but it is, of course, it's full of style, very unique the way the film's shot, a lot of close-ups. It's really something else, the way Mann creates this intensity to the picture, and it just fully commits to create a perfect tone, and just atmosphere. It's dripping with atmosphere, this film, and the tension. Wow, it's such a tense film, only kind of expelled by the ending of many great action scenes, sequences. It's wonderfully sustained action and tension, and this is how you do it. This is kind of like a master class in how you direct a film. It really is. It's not quite in my top kind of 50 or anything like that, like some say, but wow, this film is very close, and certainly around my top 100 of all time. Some people may be surprised, but I think this is one of the best films ever made in cinema. It's just a film I absolutely get blown away by every time. And it's truly stunning, you know, in every sense. You know, it's just, I love crime films, you know, when they're done well. I love kind of course, it's got some of my favourite actors of all time in the film, including my favourite actor. How does this kind of compare to the rest of De Niro's performances? I could say it's probably very, very close, if not in, you know, certainly, you know, kind of, it's definitely in the top 15 of his performances, maybe in the top 10, who knows, at least very, very close, because he's absolutely remarkable in the film. But of course, as many know, you know, his best, his even greater performances, mostly in the 70s and 80s and stuff, you know. I'd say probably the, you know, from 73 with Mean Streets, of course, to 84, you know, contains some, you know, some of his very, very best work overall, you know, films and the performances, you know, stuff, you know, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, The Deer Hunter, and of course, Godfather Part 2, you know, and Once Upon a Time in America. But yes, this film, the performances are perfect throughout, you know, actually Judd as well, she is so good in the film, very, very emotional kind of storyline. It's just a human film. It really brings, you know, kind of sympathetic characters at times, even though they are, you know, kind of brutal criminals. You know, it really brings out the humanity in this, and just, as I say, the way that the film ends with the death of Neil, you know, and stuff, and the loss of, you know, for other characters as well, you know, the loss of many, many different things. It's a truly tragic film, but not just for the criminals, of course. For a lot of the other characters, as I say, you know, Vincent, of course, and it's this wonderful, you know, kind of spiritual dual character study, and of course the way that you're on your edge of your seat for the whole film, at least I was, you know, with these characters kind of never quite coming into contact until quite far on into the film. And that scene, you know, as I say, the diner scene is just, it's stuff of legends, although very, very simply done, just so effective though, and of course the placement, you know, the context within the film is truly something else. This film is an absolute masterpiece, and I'd have to give it 100% plus. Tier 2, yes, very, very close to a Tier 1, you know, not quite in there. Maybe at times it would be, just overall as a film, I have to draw a line somewhere, you know, with that tier, but let me tell you, within a couple of slots, a couple of films kind of placements, you know, to get into the slot of the Tier 1 mark, very, very close, you know, it's kind of just below, you know, certain films like, Saving Private Ryan, you know, I reviewed kind of recently. Life is Beautiful, you know, it's just a few slots below them. Very, very close, but I have to kind of draw the line for my, you know, personal connection. But wow, this film is truly, truly moving. It's grand, it's majestic, and it's kind of, it's just so masterfully constructed and tight. You know, the script is just, this is genius stuff here. You know, of course, many probably wouldn't say it's one of the best films ever made. You know, but some definitely do, of course. It's very, very acclaimed. I happen to agree on this occasion. And of course, yeah, it has the bonus points for, you know, these great actors. You know, Pacino, especially, and De Niro in the film together, and just the way this could have been, you know, kind of just a selling point, you know, gimmick. But it's so well done. You know, they live these characters, and just once again both delivering some wonderful performances. Al Pacino, maybe, you know, very, very close to De Niro in this film. You know, and the only other occasion that would be, you know, would be The Godfather Part 2. Of course, you know, I think in that film De Niro gives a better performance, but they're both some of the best. And in this, once again, you know, it's just a case of De Niro just slightly outshining him. But wow, Pacino in this film is off the charts. You know, and just another great performance. Probably one of his last truly great performances. You know, Pacino. And, you know, kind of not far off being, you know, one of the last truly great De Niro performances actually as well. So yeah, because of course both, you know, this century, yeah, not being in some, you know, some great stuff. Mostly, you know, there's some exceptions, but yeah, it's a shame. But yeah, you know, both in my top 5 actors, and Heat is very, very close to my top 100 films. If you've not seen it, I'd recommend it. You know, it's just everything really. If you like thrillers, dramas, romance, action films, of course, and just great crime films that aren't one-sided, then go ahead and watch this film. If you've seen it, you know, of course, let me know, you know, what you think in the comments. And yes, on Blu-ray, yes, of course, there's always problems somehow, you know, with my watching of this, but of course, once again, wonderful to see, you know, the visuals and everything of this film. And yes, just an experience like no other. So yes, thanks for watching my review.